Welcome back to another episode of STL Real Estate Roundtable. I'm your host, Jaden Barr, CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Chesterfield. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, Caleb Travers. Caleb, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go. Let's have some fun here. So I start off pretty much every episode the same way, which is what got you started in a career in real estate?
Yeah. Well, you're a part of that, which we can get into. I was about 7 years into a tech career, working for, I think it's Fortune 1000. I used to say Fortune 500. Actually, I had to correct myself, but working for some good companies in the area. I worked at Panera headquarters here and their tech center. And that was one of my first major gigs, kind of coding. And I was a self-taught coder, and I was just kind of looking for a good career for myself and my family. And about 7 years in, I never had a job that was more fun than working at Panera headquarters, because they had put us on for kind of a mission critical effort that was going to redo all of their front of house and back of house technology, including their web apps and how people ordered the food, right? Okay. So we would always joke we were just selling sandwiches, right? But the truth is, I got access, and I never realized it until years later in my career, when I was like, why was no other job this fun? And I was getting access there to some of the highest quality people who were connected directly to the C-suite, right, at Panera, this major national, like worldwide brand. It was one of the top 10, I think, most recognizable brands in the nation or something. It was something crazy like that, right? Maybe like top 25. And you had all these great people internally who were leading the team, assembling the team, putting together problem solvers who happened to code. And I got to be a part of all that and see the ins and outs of that. And I realized what I loved the most about that job was not coding at all, but it was solving like business problems that affected people in the real world and created better outcomes. And they got really fun, and they got really technical, and they got really complicated at the same time. And it was all learning opportunities. And at the end of the day, when you're solving problems, like, you're just negotiating in a lot of ways. And so those people just really inspired me, and it just took me a couple of years to figure that out. And so I just began to look at ways in which maybe I could start investing in real estate or learning that skill. And so I was already a self-taught coder. I was a self-taught musician before that. And so that was the next thing I just started learning for myself. I started finding coaching groups and mastermind groups, et cetera, and just digging into that into my free time. And before you knew it, I was starting to do investment properties around town and kind of figuring out what that was like. And then pretty soon I got on the phones and I realized I was selling. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and realized I need to learn to sell, need to learn to own a business, need to learn how to acquire assets. And that I just realized everything was connected towards business. And the first available opportunity was to just do real estate. So getting the license was the next step, mainly because I didn't like the buy your house for cash sort of MO. It didn't feel as good to me. And I liked the idea of being able to have a license to be able to help people do whatever it is, whatever option they wanted to do, and to just show up as a fiduciary. And that was very attractive to me. It just felt more honest. I still do a lot of off-market deals. I still work with a lot of investors, but at the end of the day, being able to show up with a license and an obligation to people legally was really attractive to me. So.
That's awesome. So your time at Panera, so like the SIP club and the ordering process, you're responsible for that? You can say yes.
Okay.
You can say yes.
I just say, I can't. So I think today, because it's been a while since I've stepped foot into Panera, because I eat at home now, because I work at home. I don't even come into the brokerage, you know that. But everything that they're still using now, I worked on, I think, on the front and the back of the house, which is wild. It was kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, it was just basic code. It was before AI was taking over. It was when web development was really fun, and it was all web technology. I wasn't doing any I did stuff in the data on the data side in the back end or whatever. But yeah, it was like making boxes move and clicking and checking and highlighting things.
That's awesome.
We're just getting business done.
So, so you've got an entrepreneurial spirit, right? You know, you mentioned self-taught in a lot of different realms. Like what, you know, you get your real estate license. What was the biggest adjustment moving from one career to now you're in this whole new industry and trying to figure things out?
Yeah. Everything was an adjustment. Like every single thing was an adjustment. And I had to remember back to when I was doing music. I was like a clueless 20 something and I was like playing in bars for a living, which was a whole nother adventure. And I did have to do a lot of self-promotion. I did have to do a lot of like making posters, you know, coding for myself and promoting in that way and networking. And it was like, okay, this is what it is. And okay, fine. That's what I have to do. That's what I'll do. And I just began to, the dissatisfaction in my tech career began to come when I began to get on larger and larger teams, larger and larger companies. There was less action to take. And that I didn't ever, I always thought I was kind of lazy. But then I got into a really cushy environment and my satisfaction, my level with happiness with my career just went through.
You needed the challenge. So
I had to have a new challenge to either be learning or actively negotiating and, you know, selling my ideas about how we can approach this new tool or task or whatever it is. And I didn't realize that that's what I really thrive on. And so I got involved with, you know, there's in the Web 2.0 technologies right now, like you can open up a feed, you know, on any given social media app or YouTube and begin to type in things about what you want to learn. And there's an entire market, an entire economy of people who will sell you on, you know, on ideas on business and entrepreneurship. It'll literally just come to you through an algorithm. And so the more people I heard from who were talking about external action, if you begin to act like a successful person, which sounds like complete mumbo jumbo, but if you take the actions of people who have been successful through repeatable processes, then you begin to reap the results. If you can delay gratification for 18 months, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And so that is what got me there. So
yeah, that's awesome. So I think, you know, the reason you're sitting in this chair right now, right? You've been in the industry for how long? 3 years?
Yeah, I haven't had my license it'll be 2 full years at the end of this month, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how I see you is like you are a rising star. Like there are very few agents that I talk to on a regular basis, and I'm in the room with some top dogs in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And there's very, very few that I think match your level of consistency day in and day out. And, you know, we talk on a regular basis, and I've invited you to things that we've got going on in the office. I've invited you out for, you know, happy hours and different things like that. And you're like, Jaden, I'm sorry, but I got to do my lead generation. I'm sorry. And so I'm like, respect. Hey, he is doing the work. Right. And so, you know, you mentioned repeatable processes and systems, and just talk me through kind of like how you're wired that way, and like, you know, what's enabled you to be that consistent over time. And because I mean, you're literally laying right now a foundation for the next 3, 5, 10 years. And I think you're starting to just see the tip of the iceberg of that, you know, kind of the fruit of all that work that
that's what we're praying for sure. So, well, I mean, listen, I'm just now 43, and it's been a long journey, right? So I did a lot of things in my 20s. I've had a lot of careers. This is probably a third or fourth career, and it'll be the last one. That's what I tell people, right? And I've done many things. I've had to learn and teach myself many things. I've always been a little restless and always just been a little bit probably ADD, you know. And I think Dave Ramsey talks about how many business owners end up being, you know, statistically ADD. So it's more difficult for you to function on a day-to-day basis generally. So you figure out pretty quick, if you don't want your day to be as chaotic as you might naturally be, then you thrive on routine. And so that's just been the number one thing for me. I've had my share of time lived in a very undisciplined way. And once I discovered, you know, just being in the gym, basically, and that I know it's a super corny cliche about like, you're in business, you're in the gym, and you're some sort of like lifter bro or, business bro or whatever, but it's a direct correlation. It's just, process and work in and then results out, but it's over a long, long period of time. And so that's just, it's been a long time coming, but I've learned and taught myself enough things to know that I would rather suffer now by delayed gratification than I would suffer later for missed opportunities. And so I think it just comes with maturity too. It's just, and it took me a nice long time. So thankfully I've got plenty of years ahead of me to hopefully enjoy, the early fruits and what we're building. But yeah, it's 100% discipline, like pretty much everything.
Yeah. And it's such a great mindset to have too. And I think that could be an encouraging word for anybody out there, that it's never too late to change careers, to dive into learning something new and finding an area of growth in, any area of your life. Right. I mean, it's never too late, right?
It's all truly related. And that's the thing, is that any good habit transfers over. And that really is like it gets said a lot because it's true that, any discipline works the same muscle. And so I'm very, very thankful for that, because there's been a lot of slow incremental changes, and it's just now, worked into, and my wife and I joke about this. There's some coaching opportunities that are available to me now that are more focusing on, you're successful in business and now it's time to take care of your personal life. For me, I came in the opposite, which was good. I just, I had enough trouble in my own life personally coming into this to where I worked very hard on, my own faith, my own, basic personal character, and my family and marriage. So that's all very strong. And so my wife and I joke with each other that, we did those things first, and now we're working on, our marketplace value. But we're thankful for that in many ways.
Yeah.
But it's all related, whatever order you choose it to be. So.
Right. So talk to me about like some of the successes that you've had, this early in your career. Like, what do you think has been not necessarily keys to your success, but like, where are you seeing wins right now in your business? Yeah,
well, I want to speak to new agents in this, because I have a group, kind of a mastermind group that I'm a part of that's free. So number one, right? I've been a part of many coaching groups and mastermind groups that I have paid for. And I would just discourage anyone from doing that initially, right? Talk to this guy about coming on to KW with the free resources and existing things we have. But I've invested a lot in time and money into, learning what to say, how to say it, how to just put people at ease, how to be at ease yourself is really what it is.
Yeah.
And, I've sifted through a lot of things that made me feel like I had to stand up straight and be a certain person and be a different person and be something that I wasn't. And so the victories for me right now are coming in understanding the principles behind that, solid principles of having a business and relating to people, but just doing so in a way that I just show up like a neighbor. And I'm one of your neighbors in the community. I see that you have, you've mentioned that you're looking to buy a home. I've heard that you are having trouble getting your home sold, that you have an inherited home, or whatever it is, and just showing up and saying, I'm a person in the community, and I want to see if I can help you, and helping people feel that I do genuinely want to help, but then B, also communicated it very much up front. I don't need them to say yes to me.
Yeah.
And that goes that just goes so far with folks, to just be at ease yourself and to put other people at ease, to put up front the thing, I want to see you win, and it's okay if you tell me no.
Yeah. So, and that's a word, right? That is a word. I think a lot of agents, especially when you're getting started, like there's that insecurity and doubt of like, I don't know what to say. I'm going to sound stupid. Like, what if they ask me a question that I don't know the answer to? And it's like, that happens every day for even the most experienced agents. Right. And it's okay to not know. as long as you show up with that genuine care and, willingness to go find the answer, right? If there is a question that you don't know.
Because capable people connect things, right? It's like what's the kind of the saying is say yes to the opportunity, gain the skills later. I don't want to advertise that to folks, as far as like my direct clients, but in a way, you've got to be able to have that mindset of connecting, the dots as in an entrepreneurial problem solving sort of way. There's something you said earlier that I want to touch on, and it's escaping me right now. It's gone, so we'll come back to it.
So what do you think is kind of what's the vision for your business? You said you're laying the foundation right now. Like what is the vision for your business, moving forward, and kind of what are some challenges or obstacles that you're currently working through or navigating?
Yeah, I think waiting, and that's exactly what I was going to say for me and for anybody getting into it, whether this is your third career or your very first, is being in a position to where you do not need everyone to say yes to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes from very boring principles of, so I'm becoming more and more, the older I get, more following more about what Dave Ramsey says, and just debt-free living in general. And just having a really small footprint financially as to where you can be freed up to have a longer runway to have some financial success and some recurring business coming in the door. I think that goes a long way. So I'm working on that right now. I'm 43. I have 3 children, and they're one of them's nearly out of the house. And so I'm just now getting to that place. But I think that's one of the biggest things for me is being okay with, and I tell myself this every day, and every night when my wife and I, walk and talk about how business is going, is just saying, it's okay if we don't achieve dream B, C and F this year. If we don't achieve this level of success or contracts closed or clients signed or, contacts made, it's going to be okay, because I'm pretty sure that in 24 months and 36 months, I'm still going to be selling real estate and working with people and being in business, And so the biggest challenge for me, I hate the word mindset, but it is mindset, and being okay to be patient, to just allow things to happen over time. So I'm just trying to think about it as this farming. Every day is just, gathering, sowing seed and working the opportunities that I have in front of me, and serving the people who come across my desk and who I get to meet with every day as best as I can.
Yeah.
And knowing that over time, everything just has a way of growing. Bad habits have a way of growing. Good habits have a way of growing. Mm-hmm. Good reputation and integrity have a way of growing and getting out as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really noticed that in probably year 3 of my business, personal business, where, things really start to snowball. So if you're willing to, practice that delayed gratification and do the work, then eventually, like you said, like things grow, right?
Yeah. And
especially if you're, acting with integrity, treating people right, serving people well along the way, that's 100% accurate. And another thing, you think about the transaction timeline, right? Yep. Very rarely do you run into somebody in the grocery store, you say, hey, you want to buy or sell real estate? And they say, yeah, actually, let's go look at a house right now, right? It doesn't work like that. I mean,
100%.
There are certain instances, maybe, but oftentimes, you have that initial conversation, and then it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months.
Absolutely.
And that time of lead follow-up is so much longer.
Yeah.
And they say, yes, I'm ready to go, green light. And then it's 30, 60 days, right?
Absolutely.
And so the real test for anybody that's in this industry is that huge window, right? Of lead follow-up, show up with value, show up with consistency, check in, make sure that you're clear on their motivation time after time after time.
Yes.
And, if you're not willing to do that, right, it's going to be tough sledding.
It is really about setting expectations and, finding good language that works for you that sounds like you and feels like you.
Yeah.
But that is ultimately a little bit more direct than you'd probably be comfortable with. I think that's the concern for me getting into direct sales. I knew it was direct sales straight up. I did know that. But I've always been a super duper friendly person. And you have to find yourself saying a few things that are going to be, you've got to have a couple categories for, do you want me to call you, right? Does this,
is it okay if I follow up?
Yeah. And does this make sense for you too? And, it's funny. And then on the contract side of things too, right? Things can get a little rough. Like if you're representing a buyer or a seller, right? You've got to find a way to keep things professional, but demonstrate that you have boundaries and you have standards.
Yeah.
And to enforce those with professionalism. And that's been a big piece of growth for me, is to understand that you can disagree with a client. You can educate a prospect. You can have a negotiation counterpart with whom you disagree, and you're even working through something that both of you don't like. And you can say difficult things in such a way that it keeps the conversation moving as well. And so that's been a big piece of maturity for me. And again, I think the main piece that makes it, that's helped me to grow the most is simply talking to more people, doing it over and over and over again. And so you can't...
Reps.
Yeah. There's no substitute for the time. And so that's why I have to say no to more things than I would like to, so I can keep the reps.
Well, that's a huge lesson right in and of itself right there, is just, oftentimes I think whenever we think about business growth, we think about what do I need to add or what do I need to say yes to, but really it's probably more often about what do I need to say no to, right? There's a lot of things that, something comes up and we say yes, we jump, right? Yeah. And, we need to practice saying no more often.
Yeah.
Right? Ryan Leak is one of my favorite follows on social media. He's a speaker, business owner, and he just put out a reel recently, and the whole premise is fall in love with boring.
That's so good.
Fall in love with boring. You look at the most successful athletes, the most successful business owners, most successful marriages, like, those athletes, they're doing the same workouts day in and day out, same meal prep.
Yeah.
The most successful business people, they're doing the same lead generation activities day in, day out, which leads to a full pipeline. The most successful marriages, they're going on the same neighborhood walk, the same route after dinner every day, talking about what went on in their day. And it's not sexy, but man, it works. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think just, a lot of agents out there, they jump at the next shiny object whenever, the thing that's really going to catapult their business is right in front of them, and it's talking to more people.
Absolutely. And however you do it, and to, and in fairness, and I know you know this, you have a lot more empathy than I do. I know that just by speaking with you, spending time with you. But there's so many shiny objects out there right now, and I don't think anybody really understands or knows where the industry is going to land. We're all posting on social media. We're all just trying to, we're trying to find creative ways to just let people know here we are whenever the time comes. And I 100% get that. But it's just, there's so many novel things that keep coming down the pipeline. And I've always been a proponent of like, what's literally the most boring thing that I can find that is a proven model. And I've latched onto that for business. I did that when I coded too. I was like, Java is the most boring language, and that's the language I'm going to learn because it has the most jobs. Yeah. And then I happened to end up, 6 months later learning JavaScript, which is front-end code. But even being a proponent of that, I've looked back just because the receipts will tell you, what you spend your money and time on. I've looked back and thought, why did I pay that vendor for that service? It has nothing to do with my fundamentals every day. And so it's continuously saying no or looking back and reflecting and saying what's actually effective and useful. Yeah. But yeah, Alex Hormozy, who I'm a mixed fan of for many reasons, we'll just talk about whatever it is that is working for you. Don't expand. That's the mistake. The correct path is to double down on exactly what is working for you and bring your business through the door. Yeah,
100%. Okay, so looking back on just the business that you built in such a short period of time, where you're at currently, what are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. I'm thankful and proud of, again, I think just that the business is built on trust for people, and that it's built on something boring. And I like that. I'm thankful for that. And I'm proud as, whatever it's, like I'm thankful that my sons get to see me work really hard, and that they get to see their dad working 50, 60-hour weeks. My office is in our basement in our house, and we have 3 boys at home. And, I don't come to the brokerage very often, except when I have a closing or something. They see dad working hard. They see dad negotiating. They see dad getting up at 6 on Saturdays and doing all of that work. And they see, my wife and I working together on our budget, on my expenses, and me maybe training her on a couple of things that she assists me with. So, and I'm proud of the level of success that I've had where properties have been difficult to sell in the past with other situations, circumstances, or maybe other agents. I don't like to talk about that a lot, but there are a lot of places I've been able to come in and pick up the pieces. And it's been based on data and observation. And then it's also been based on honesty. Sometimes there simply has been a lack of transparency and honesty about what's really going to happen once we get out there on market, once we go out there house shopping. And I think that relates back to a lot of people being afraid of failing and needing things to work out. I get that because I have that every day. But I try and be in the business of telling people not what they want to hear, but what they'll need to hear, and then leaving the decision up to them. Yeah, because we're all adults here.
Yeah, Yeah, and we've talked about several of your transactions. I know time and time again, you love calling, right?
Yep.
Cold calling too, right? Yep. And so there's a lot of situations there, like you said, where you're coming in and you're picking up the pieces, and there's maybe expired listings where the agent just didn't represent them well, or they didn't have a good experience, and so you're coming in, trying to rewrite that story, right? And you've shared several of those stories with me of how you've came in and just the level of service that you've been able to provide, and been able to take those difficult scenarios and kind of rewrite the script, which is something that I think you should be really proud of, because that's not easy, and especially whenever the client has had a negative experience with an agent before, and there's probably some preconceived notions of all agents are this way, or, and you get to come in and, just the way that, you care for people. That's something that's really cool.
Yeah. It's a fun problem to solve. It feels like consulting again. It feels like software engineering, consulting in a lot of ways. It's like, what levers do we need to pull? And, it's a pretty basic conversation if they're open to it. And that's just simply, I've done this a lot, at least on paper. This feels like it should have worked out. I just want to do some research for you and put that, in front of you. If anything on that jumps out, let's just have a conversation. And we try and go from there. And it's gotten, the things that have gotten easier, speaking of things that are getting easier, what's the challenges? It's easier now that you have time, or now that you have a record, now that I have successes I can literally point to numbers and say, I do this often.
Yeah.
So that helps. And that was probably one of the toughest parts in the beginning, is that I had literally nothing to go on except that I communicate well and at least appear that I used to work in the corporate world. Yeah. Like I've got certain skills that way, but I didn't even have a transaction record to point to back then. So now I've got that at least.
That's awesome. So what's a day in the life of Caleb look like?
Yeah. So I'm basically working 6-day weeks these days. And so we'll start out before the kids wake up. My wife and I will just get together and pray and have coffee and pet the cats. And then I try to be at my computer by 6. And then on the phones doing what I need to do to meet new people until about lunch, all the while taking care of the kind of needful correspondence you've got to do from yesterday, that seller who really needed X, or that prospect who needed you to touch base about X, Y, or Z, or the file. And so I'm doing that work while I'm talking to new people. And then I have lunch, and I try and get out and meet some more people or do appointments. And then I follow up with everybody I need to follow up with that day. And then I have dinner, and then I have to go to the gym, and then I collapse.
And you do it again. Right.
And then I do it again.
So do you have a goal of number of like contacts to make in a week?
It's more about
conversation.
How many I went from focusing on volume and number of people live people that you talk to the number to depth. And so if I can talk to I want to talk to 3 to 4 people every day who it would make sense for me to follow up with that week or that month.
Okay.
And so if I can...
So really that's like adding people to your pipeline.
Correct.
Somewhat.
Yeah. Okay. I want to... So I don't care how many people I talk to in a day, because I've had that mentality, and you just burn through people, and you're about this deep the whole day. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't serve them either. Right. So I want to find meaningful opportunities. So what I'm trying to work on right now is, what are the most meaningful conversations I can have with people that respect their time and mine? Okay. To understand, do we need to be talking? Yeah. Which is such a, do we need to be talking? So you have to be careful about that too, because you're guarding your time too. Right. As well as theirs. Yeah. So you got to be careful.
Awesome. So I ask this to every guest, like what's the most impactful book or podcast that you've read or listened to that's had an imprint on your business or personal development?
Yeah. Rich Dad Poor Dad's great. It's a good way to think. It's a challenging way to think, especially if you want to really love your neighbor well, because not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Even to make a really conscious decision to help and love people who are not thinking about business and money in the way you are. Right. To help them, you got to use that as a way to love and serve your neighbor. If I have insight and understanding about the market, then I'm going to help you, rather than, again, having left or not enjoyed the quote, wholesaling investment world, because a lot of that is based on what can I get over on you? So that was impactful. And then Alex Hormozi, he's an online influencer, entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So just whatever he says as far as activities, or the activities of the repeatable processes of running businesses has been really, really impactful. It's short and it's sweet and it's, viral.
He's got a lot of great one-liners.
He does. He's very good at aphorisms and whatnot. And I don't really have a lot of other time for reading. I'm pretty bad at reading. So, but I'll hire coaches, right, when I need to, if I feel stuck or something. Mm-hmm. I just need to have a conversation with someone generally. So, the Mike Ferry organization was great for me for a time. And some other organizations, I probably shouldn't have dropped that name, but whatever. So I kind of hop around to coaching organizations, and I think I've heard enough. I've probably heard the Cliff Notes on enough stuff on direct sales to where I feel like I'm mostly okay now. And what I have to focus on right now is what
just
works
taking action.
Me. Yeah. It's taking the action and understanding what it looks and feels like, it sounds like, for me to do what I already know is the right thing to do. Right. So less thinking time for me.
Yeah. That's the great thing about, we talk about models and systems, right? You follow the model and system. Like you said, you get the rigid, here's what to say, how to say it. Mm-hmm. And then over time, once you've kind of worked through it enough times, you kind of figure out, oh, that sounds kind of weird. The way I said it, I could probably say it a little different to get the same point across. Right.
100%.
But I think 100% it start with this is what to say, how to say it, and then eventually make it your own, rather than starting with just your own creativity and creative flair, like we all do as entrepreneurs, and then trying to add systems to it. It's that's chaos. Yeah,
100%. It's so when I first started lifting, so you can't tell, but I do lift. I hired a coach, and I was I just do what coach tells me to. Just shut up and lift, just shut up and eat, and just do these 5 lifts that you hate, and like that was it. And that's all I did. And so it's the same way with any other like coaching.
Yeah.
Like you should I try and seek out the driest, most boring method possible. But over time you have to find when it's right for you to overcome that.
Yeah.
That's always a fun conversation.
What's been the most surprising or the biggest learning curve with the real estate industry? Like what's something that surprised you whenever you got into it?
It's too easy to get your license. And there's
Amen.
And there's too many real estate agents. So you can cut this out or not. I don't care. But
No, I agree with you. I'm not cutting out.
yeah, 70% of agents aren't going to list a home this year. The majority of agents are reaching retirement age and part-time. Mm-hmm. Some of the most inspiring agents I've ever met have been retirement age, and they're wonderful. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if, and I'm not the kind of person who's like, I need to go change the world because it doesn't suit me. I just know what I can do. And it helps to understand that and to educate other people, especially when they've had a negative experience with agents. It's like, listen, this is not common. The advice that you're getting right now, the level of care and detail that you're getting right now, this is actually not common. Yeah. A 50, 60-hour week from a real estate agent and probably 90 minutes of solid market analysis for your particular property is absolutely not common.
Yeah.
So it helps me, but it's a little frustrating. Mm-hmm. And so I just have to find better ways to talk about why you might not want to go with your cousin who just got their license.
Yeah.
So that's just been the biggest challenge in a lot of ways. So I hope that's not too negative.
No, not at all. I mean, I think that's something that the general public doesn't always think about, right? They don't understand that there's levels to this thing, just like there's levels to anything else, any other industry. Yes. It's just that ours doesn't require a high barrier to entry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, you're a great exception to that. And I think Keller Williams is, and Keller Williams Chesterfield is. Like, if we can toot our own horn here for a second, like the level of quality of people that are at our brokerage are wonderful, and the training is good. And so I think you guys are doing a good job.
That's awesome.
Helping to change that.
That's awesome, man. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Caleb, you're an awesome agent. I'm grateful to be in business with you and look forward to seeing your continued success over the years.
Likewise. Thanks, man.
All right. We'll catch you on the next episode.